welcome into the Bills Chat halftime show. I am Josh McCarty. Probably help if I have my mic in front of my face. I'm a little bit dumbfounded at what I just saw at the end of that half. Welcome into the Bills Chat halftime show. I am Josh McCarty. The Bills trail the Broncos amazingly 20-10 at halftime, and the game up until about the last 30 seconds of the first half just felt like one of those games where it's like, just get to halftime, okay? You're making enough dumb mistakes, but you're doing what you want to do on offense, and defense really hasn't been that bad. You're just not getting the bounces. And then, I was all prepared to come in here and say, look, the Cook fumble was a killer, but you got to overcome it. What were the Bills trying to accomplish with 14 seconds left and no timeouts in their pocket? What's the upside there? Because the downside is you give the Broncos a free 3 points. I don't understand it. This team gets ultra aggressive at points that it doesn't make any sense. Why are you going for it there? The breaks are not going the Bills' way. Clearly, the Broncos have fumbled the ball twice, and it's landed right in their own lap. James Cook fumbles the ball, and it goes right to a Bronco. It's killing a drive where the Bills are up 7-3 in driving. Then they get an injury to Cam Lewis, who's playing outside of his mind. And Darnell Savage goes in for reasons only you and I can guess, because he hasn't played basically all season except for week 18 against the Jets. I guess Jordan Hancock's performance last week was so bad that they're not even going to let him on the field even when Jordan Poyer's out, Cam Lewis goes down. So you put Darnell Savage out there, and he gets roasted on a double move by Lil Jordan Humphrey. So it's bad enough that you think you're going to go into halftime down 17-10. But it's okay. We get the ball coming out at half. This hasn't been a great half. We've lost our starting center for a couple of drives. Our star running back dropped the ball on a chance to go up by 2 scores. And then your franchise quarterback fumbles the ball for no reason. He should have been kneeling. And now the Broncos, who came out and played as sloppy as you possibly can, they fumbled the ball twice. They fumbled the ball again, and it goes right to Nix. They have a 2-score lead. I don't have a clue what the Bills were trying to accomplish at the end there. You just have to get to halftime. There's no reason in the world with 14 seconds left and no timeouts that you should be doing anything aggressive in that situation. Is Josh Allen going to throw the ball 65, 70 yards and Keon Coleman's going to catch it this time? I don't understand that. And I know revisionist history. When you have access to the results, it's easy to be critical, but that's why you don't try to be aggressive in those situations. What's the upside? You get 20 yards and you can't stop the clock? Oh, it's so frustrating. And now the Bills are playing down by 2 scores against a team that you don't want to be in this game script against. Everything was going perfectly fine up until that James Cook fumble. And then the entire thing shifted. They're up 7-3 and they're driving, and that place is as nervous can be. And Bo Nix is throwing up all over himself. And then all of a sudden it's a fumble, and then it's a touchdown to a lineman. The Bills go down and answer it by getting a touchdown of their own. They get multiple 3rd down conversions on that last drive, a field goal of their own, excuse me. And then they get multiple 3rd down conversions on that drive. And ultimately, because of an injury to Cam Lewis, it's just one of those games where you don't want to have a victim's mentality, but everything that can go wrong is going wrong, and it's biting you really, really hard every time it goes wrong. Cam Lewis goes down for one play, and the guy that comes in for him gets roasted because he shouldn't be out there. Connor McGovern goes down for one drive, and Alec Anderson just lollipops a ball right through his legs, bowls it to Josh Allen instead of snapping it to Josh Allen. I get this team is on 6 days rest. I get the Broncos are fresh. But these self-inflicted wounds, man, to lose a playoff game because you're doing stupid stuff. Why are the coaches putting the team in a position at the end of the half to do that? What were you trying to accomplish? I don't want to just sit here and scream into the microphone for the next 10 minutes. Let's see what's going on in chat. Ismailis is here. That was a disaster. Absolutely. Sam says, I'm so nervous for this second half. Well, the Bills, Sam, have put themselves in such a terrible position. They do get the ball. They have to score on the first drive of the second half, because what you cannot do in this game is stay down by 2 scores. If you get it at least a field goal on the first drive, but preferably a touchdown, obviously, what is that even really to say? The Bills then put the pressure back on the Broncos. But everything that happened for the Broncos in the first half, I don't want to say everything, but there were so many gifts by the Bills. RJ Harvey fumbles the ball, but Larry Ogunjobi, for a reason we have to guess, jumps off sides when he is literally in a position where he puts his hand in the ground and he's staring at the ball. There is not a person in the entire stadium with a better view of the ball than Larry Ogunjobi, but for some reason he jumps off sides and that takes a fumble off the board for the Bills. So frustrating. Caleb is here. Just kneel it. Agreed. Roy Collins, why would McDermott not tell Josh to kneel it in the first half? Good question. No idea what they were trying to accomplish. Or you've seen teams come out, excuse me, and hand it off to a running back on a draw play, and maybe Cook breaks one out for like 20, 25 yards and gets out of bounds, and now you're in Hail Mary range. Cool. But to drop back, and then, Allen, he's got to have more awareness there. I can blame McDermott for the choice to throw the ball. Allen has to be aware that once you take off running, you are eliminating any chance of getting points. The second Josh Allen decides that I'm going to take off and run with this ball, there is no chance that the Bills are coming out of this drive with points. So all he needs to do is know that I can't fumble this ball. He's holding it like a loaf of bread. It pops out. David Edwards falls on it, but because it's one of those days for the Bills, of course, it squirts out from him and goes right to a Bronco, and it just happens to be in Will Lutz's field goal range. Wonderful. The turnovers aren't his fault, but the whole game is bad. The game felt like it turned on the James Cook fumble, but the Bills did answer after the defensive touchdown they gave up to the offensive lineman by coming back and get a field goal of their own. It felt like they settled things down, but then ultimately the Cam Lewis injury led to a touchdown from little Jordan Humphrey. Nothing the Broncos are doing is special. No, absolutely not. And I'm not trying to discredit the team that's winning, but the Bills fumbled the ball twice. The Broncos fell on it both times. The Broncos fumbled it. The Bills fell on it, but thanks, Larry Ogunjobi, you decided to jump off sides. Which, by the way, Larry Ogunjobi, if you're going to jump off sides, can you make a play? Because you had a head start on everybody else, but still you ran yourself out of the play. Thanks for coming by. Allen looked like the spectator with the ball. He's holding it like this. He does that when he runs. He's got to do better than that. Edwards had a chance to recover it. Absolutely. You're watching that play and you're thinking, oh my God, oh, thank God a Bill's going to get on it. Just like get out of here. And it just squirts off of him. And the one good news is Connor McGovern is coming back in. It's looking like one of those games need the second half Warriors to show up. Well, this is a battle-tested team. They've had second half comebacks before. This is not an ideal situation to be playing from behind because this is a Broncos defense that thrives on pinning their ears back and rushing the passer with Benito and Cooper and the guys they have on their defensive line. And the Bills, certainly with their wide receiver group, are not a team built to just drop back. So they have to keep this game within a one-score game or else it could get really ugly. Sorry, I'm fighting some congestion here. That's why my voice is doing this. But ultimately, I do think, again, what is it to say? The Bills have to get points on this first drive. You have to continue to keep it as a one-score game, or else it just feels like it's kind of like a snowball that could just get really, really big on the Bills here. Broncos are capitalizing on opportunities. Bills are not. Absolutely. When James Cook fumbles, they go down and get a touchdown. And, I thought early on the Broncos were an inexperienced playoff team showing it. The multiple fumbles by RJ Harvey, a couple bad throws by Nix. And the way the Bills went down that first drive, just so surgical, boom. And then they get the ball right back and they're driving again. You just start to get this feeling like, man, the Bills might just outclass this team. And then you fumble and get the ball back to them. And that just gives them a mental reset. But that doesn't have to be the dagger that kills you. Championship caliber teams have adversity that hits them along the way. Watch those America's Game documentaries. Every team that's ever won the Super Bowl had adversity along the way. So, Bills, this is your adversity. You just had a miserable last 30 seconds of the first half in which you, gave up the long touchdown to little Jordan Humphrey and then fumbled the ball, 10 points. So are you going to let that be the reason why your season ends, or is that going to be a rallying point? Because when you zoom out and you don't look at it the way I looked at it when this halftime show started, the way chat looked at it when this halftime show started, like, holy cow, it was 10-10 30 game seconds ago, and now it's 20-10. When you zoom out, you're down by 10 points, and you have Josh Allen, and you get the ball in the second half. You're not dead. You're alive. You're very much alive. Come out and score, and game on. We'll see what kind of resolve they have. They've dug themselves a hole. Their fingerprints are all over this 20-point deficit. Defense has to get more pressure, though. It's interesting you say that, Caleb. I'm left watching the first half almost wondering if the defense needs to shift its philosophy, do more of a cage rush, and with the goal in mind of keeping Bo Nix in the pocket. And then defensive linemen aren't as worried about the pressure, and they're more worried about, keeping him caged in and making him throw from the pocket and see what happens there. But we have about a minute left in halftime. Let's see what Caleb says. Is Kincaid getting blanketed? He hasn't done anything so far. Yeah, I think the Broncos are doing a good job on him. We look inexperienced, Josh, like what? The mistake, they looked so calm on the first drive. They looked so ready for the moment, and then you made a mistake, and we're going to learn a lot about these Bills, not just in the second half, but at the beginning of the second half. Because this is if you want to quit, go ahead and quit moment. You're on 6 days rest. You're got wide receivers all over out. You lost you've lost more players today. You just threw up all over yourselves at the end of a half and went from 10-10 to 20-10. And if you want to quit, we've seen teams quit before. You want to quit, this can just become a 30-10 Broncos win, and the Bills will, go about their offseason. Or let's see what you're made of, Bills. This can be a launch point for, holy cow, maybe it is our year. I'll leave you all with one final thought before we get to halftime, or before we get out of here. The year the Colts finally got over the hump against the New England Patriots, Peyton Manning threw a pick six, and the Colts were losing 21-3. And they won that game against New England. Okay? So sometimes things don't always make sense. The way that end of the half feels, it feels like this is just not their day. But there is 30 minutes of football left to play. Those were self-inflicted wounds. You're down by 10. You have the best player in the world, and you get the ball. Go out and do something about it. Luca and I will be back on Monday for Bills Chat Podcast. Hopefully the Bills find a way to pull this one out, and we'll be back on Wednesday for Bills Chat Live, and hopefully beyond hope, knock on wood, I'm here for Bills Chat halftime next week against whoever the Bills would be playing in the AFC Championship game. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry for the rant, but go Bills and pull this one out. East Malise, final word. Go Bills, nonetheless. Agreed. Enjoy the second half. Get it done, Bills.